What's up, guys? It's Pete. I'm here to explain to you guys a little bit about my supply and demand, since I know a lot of guys have been asking about how I'm finding my bounces and stuff and how I'm laying my boxes out. So I'm just going to go over a little bit about it. I know we're going to have a full class eventually, but this is just going to be a short little intro video on it. Hopefully a short. But we'll get into it. I'm just gonna go start. I'm just gonna use IWM as my example. I've been doing really well with it the past few days, so I'm just gonna use this. And usually you guys see me lay out my boxes with the highs and lows. It works on every time frame. You can use it on like the 4 hour for your like bigger swings and stuff for a lot of stocks, and I mean you can use it for the anything down to like the 15 and the 5. I don't go down anything under than the 5 because for me like I used to be like trading on the 1 minute charts and stuff, and like you can day trade without having to be on a small time frame chart, and you can get really good plays. I think the most gains come from not being on those smaller time frame charts. I don't even put my boxes on anything other than like a smaller than a 15 or a 5. There's no reason to. Like everything you're looking at there is just noise at that point. So 15 and the 5, if you're trying to day trade, stick with that. Even if of course if you're trying to swing trade, go on anything on the hourly and above, and making sure you have enough time for your play to go through is also another big thing. But you could also I'll go and start off like you can mark out support and resistance lines everywhere you go, like wherever you see like your actual support and resistance. But for me, it just looks like a lot of noise that doesn't make sense. You can mark all this out and say, hey, yeah, it's looking good. But then you get scared because either it hits your line and it breaks through and you get either stopped out, or you're wondering if it's still a good trade. And for me, the support and lines, the resistance lines, just I mean, I don't know. It just looks too confusing, right? Like the way it looks. And you could have a bunch of them, but knowing the right ones to get to is honestly the hardest part. Like knowing which ones you're supposed to catch the bounce off of, and that's why reading candles is honestly 15% of the actual strategy. Like you have to know what the candles are going to do, or not what they're going to do, but what is done in the past. So what it's probability based. So if you've seen a bunch of strong wick bounces in the past, more than likely you're going to see another bounce again. And if it breaks, like you have a better chance of catching a bounce than you do trying to catch a breakout. I'm pretty sure you guys have already figured that out by now. Like catching breakouts, you want to wait till the retest if you try to see a breakout. But if you're trying to just catch bounces, like you're more likely going to catch a bounce than you are a breakout, and you'll get paid way more than you would trying to catch a breakout. Because most of the time, most people try to catch a breakout. Like for example, this is a perfect example right here. You try to catch that breakout, and more than likely you got stopped out because all it did was come all the way back down here. So getting in the right buying opportunity is critical to catching the right plays. But we'll get into the boxes now. Like I said, you can have the actual like support and resistance lines, but realistically, the boxes give like a broader area for entries. So, for example, you draw your resistance line right there, and I'll draw my box somewhere around it to try to give myself like a broader area of entry, so like I know I didn't miss it, because entries can tend to be pretty quick. Just like if you see these wicks, you didn't get but one candle of an entry, and if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. And for me, if I miss it, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna go for it again. Like I'm not a late chaser, even though it's a big move. I like getting the best possible entry because all the negative percentages and stuff will tend to scare a lot of people out. So either your bounce works, or you can average down if you think you messed up the bounce by a little bit, and so on. But knowing the size of the boxes is pretty easy once you start actually reading the candles and seeing what's going on inside. I tend to just like once I draw my box out, I have my boxes set up. Let me remove all this. I have it set up in the settings where I just add the middle line in, and it draws the line, my resistance line, which the middle point of my box is always the most crucial point. Like that's the what makes or breaks your candles pretty much. So if you see like a break above and break above the entire box, then you know it's pretty much changed sides that it wants to play with. So at that point, that resistance becomes a support. But in this case, I'm just gonna use. Usually give the box gives me a better chance for seeing a breakout, because like you could have a break of a line, but like I said, you could have that fake breakout. So I like to see break of boxes too, like, and I like to see confirmation after the fact, because if you could see the break of the box and then you could catch the retest on the line, like catching a break of a box and then the second candle giving you confirmation that it's a retest will play a lot safer than trying to just catch the break of a certain price level. For that's what's worked for me. Like I said, all I intend for y'all to do is just take this strategy, add it in, and like try to develop something that worked for you. Because not it, this might not work for everybody, but like I said, what works for me. So it's up to you guys how you decide to use it. But if I see a support and resistance, like I'll look for the strongest supports and resistances. Like so, whatever price is fighting the most with is where I draw my boxes out. So in this case, I have a lot of fighting going on at this. What's this level? 179.37. This is a really crucial level right here, and you'll see my line isn't perfect with the wicks, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not supposed to be. Like your bodies and wicks ain't gonna line up, but you want to see where fight prices with them, or prices fight with the most. So in this case, this level has been really a crucial area, because if I start with this first high, you see it wick through but came back down. The wicks kind of held steady right here, so I knew this wick was kind of a fake out. But these wicks kind of held around the same area as this one did, and then you'll notice like this candle right here bounced below it. And then whenever it comes for the retest after you see the strong breakout, you see that area was crucial again for the bounce play up. So you got to find the areas that have the strongest bounces. So in this case, if you start looking through the data, you'll start to see a lot of this doesn't make sense. So that's fine. You're gonna have a hard time trading stuff like that, especially without any past data. But if you go back here, you could see that there was a little bit of rejection going on right here. So I can put a box somewhere right around here where the wicks kind of line up, and you can see where the I'm gonna move it up a little bit. I lined it up with this wick right here, but you can see where it bounced off the top of that box. That's why I kind of moved it up a little bit. I like to try to keep the boxes as tight as I can. Keeping the boxes tighter gives you like better entries the closer you get to them. And if I miss the entry, I miss the entry. I just won't touch it anymore, because you either get the best possible entry or you're just FOMOing at that point. No reason to chase after it at that point. Uh, but see, as I started with my box right here. I lined it up best I could, and it hit the top of the box and bounced up. But then you start to see data make a little more sense. You start to see some huge wicks with bodies closing above here on the upside. You would see a break back above, um, and you came back down to it. The body tried to close below it, but no strong close below the box. And then you see a rejection comes back up again. Um, let's see. You see another rejection with bodies right here. It comes back up a little bit more, and then it breaks through the box and the line, comes back, retests the line, and then it breaks down again, and they gap down on that, and then it comes back up, breaks above it. This is kind of a weird close, but I mean, of course, it was the end of the day on that. Um, but like you have the gap up, comes back down. It doesn't even really come close to like it comes close to the box, but doesn't actually reach it. But so I would like if you had missed this at any point, then you pretty much just like okay, whatever. Uh, and then of course new zones eventually start to develop, like you see right here. You see another zone was developed right here. So I draw my box, and then of course you start to see it makes sense. But this is a fairly new zone right here, so I tend not to take I use it too much, because in the past this was stronger. I seen so many stronger bounces in the past from here and wherever it was in the past here. So I'm not going to use this new box until I see some solid strength of it, clear bounces coming up. And in this case, if you would have used this box, I mean, yeah, it could have paid you, but like the risk to the reward is kind of weird. Like even though like you would have got much better entries here, and then you would have had the break up here, and then you could have caught the retest if you wanted to. Like there's nothing wrong with that if you wanted to wait until the break and retest of that, which makes more sense. But like I said, you this box was like the ideal entry for stuff. It made more sense for you to try to chase that box. But then you start to see rejections from here. Like you have body closes above, but then body closes back underneath. So more zones start to develop over time. But if you're day trading, you can usually differentiate which zones are stronger and what days. So in this case, we got a lot of consolidation above this area. So I'll draw a box right here. You start to see body closes below it. So I'll start with here. I start out probably right here, but as these candles form, break to the downside, you start to realize that the wicks are actually retesting the top side of the bodies. So I'll move that box down a little bit, and then I'll kind of look for it. I see rejections here, so the box starts to make more sense. I'll see more rejections here, so then I'll drag the box across, and then you'll start to realize you start to see the same stuff over and over again. You want to see where the strongest points were. So in this point, the consolidation it kind of consolidated right there, but it always stayed below it. It consolidated in here when it came retested that zone, came back up into this one, and then you start to see a little bit more of the retest right here. Like the consolidation was crazy in this area, especially. And then it comes back down, retests it, comes back down again into this area to retry it. The more consolidation underneath this area, but above this area. So of course the strength is there. It wicked out of it at one point. And then you start to see again, it breaks above and then retests it, never closes bodies above below it, and then it comes back up for retested spots. And that's kind of how I play it. A lot of this inside stuff is just noise, no reason. You want to see the bigger picture. Try to find the zones that actually have clear bounces to upside to downside. All this in the middle, you don't need to be trading. So that's why if you are, then you need to be on a smaller time frame, just day trading or something. But I'm just showing this on the 4 hour. I'll go on the smaller time frame in a second to show you guys how the day trades look. But of course, that's how I lay my zones out. And then once you start seeing profit, scaling out is a really big thing for me. Like I know some people like to hold full positions and sell full positions, but I'm the type that scales out, collects profits, so that way if it does go back to break even, you cut it and you already collected whatever profit you needed to at that point, and then you can just find another entry. Scaling out is something that I feel like most people should know how to do because scaling out will save you more times than none. Most people that try to hold full positions for like the only reason I'd say you should hold a full position is if you have a clear goal in mind and it's a high probability goal. Like for example, if you're catching a bounce here, you need to be your goal would be right here where you've seen the strength at. Like if you have a clear goal, that's fine. But if you have no idea where it's headed and haven't came up with a goal in mind for it, there should be no reason you hold a full position. You should be scaling out as you go, especially with scalps. I feel like with scalps, scaling out is really big because, like I said, you're locking in gains because with the scalp, you don't know how far it's willing to go before it just decides to turn around on you. And if it does keep going, that's great. You got runners to catch it. But if not, then you collected most of your gains. Easy. Let me show you guys the day trade stuff. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep this one simple just for the supply and demand. I'll go over it in a lot more detail probably whenever we do the class stuff. But I'm just trying to keep a simplified version on this. And I'll just show you guys the day trade stuff and that'll probably be it. And of course, another thing I forgot to go over is make sure when you draw your zones, try to find some other confluence to back up your trades too. Let me go back to where we were. All right, so if you see, if you see things forming, try to find some confluence to support your trades. For example, right here, you see a bull flag. It's clear, pretty clear bull flag when you start to see the trend form, and you see it's retesting that bottom side. So your best bet is if you see the bull flag, go try to get the best possible entry down here at this zone, and then you could chase all of it rather than trying to just catch this breakout and maybe missing because you didn't get your entry in time. Like by the time you see it, it's too late. But if you can catch the bottom of the flag, if you see it early enough, you'll get a much better entry and have a lot more gains to run with. So that's another thing. Use your trend lines and try to find your actual patterns if you can, because they will help out a lot. So let's go to the day trade stuff now. Now that I went over that, confluence is like a really big thing for that. Let me adjust this. I'll go to the 15 first. you can use like the bigger time frame boxes on the smaller time frames. It's just gonna like they're a lot broader areas, so like you might have to pinpoint your areas a little better. Me personally, I just use if I'm looking for zones on a day trade, I'll try to just use anything from the hourly and below, like hourly 15 and the 5 for any day trades that I do. Let's see, for example, let's start with here. So I see my areas that has been holding above. This price is a pretty big area, so we'll start with that. I'll draw my box, extend it out as I need to. I want to use this wick for the bottom, but I want to use these bodies for the top of the box, and the wicks are just at the center line. So I'll draw it out, and I'll try to back up anything I see. So like now I'm starting to see the bounce above this line here. So this box area is a good entry. Which, like I said, using the boxes gives a much broader area for entry. Like so, even though this is at 196.90, you have from like 197.50, you have about 15 cents a play to get into that trade if you want to play the bounce. And for me, these are like I said, this probability. Like, what's the likely chance that it's going to bounce? And a lot of this is like really strong, so probabilities are high for a bounce. So what do you do is like I don't on a day trade I don't really wait for confirmation. I get in on the best possible entry, and then I either let it bounce or if it breaks below it super strong on the box, then I cut it. Like that's how I know. Like there is no on the day trades a confirmation needed on that because you know if it's a high probability or not when you see your boxes. Same thing right here. You have the wicks above it. Bodies never really even get close to your lines, and then you would have collected anything there. Same thing here. With scalps, like you get your best entry, and then you just chase it up, and whatever you get is what you get. Then let's draw the top side. So in this case, you had a strong bounce here. I want to see how far it ran. So it ran all the way up here. So I'll draw another box here. Uh, using that wick as my line starting out, and then I'll just kind of just draw the box like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you see your wick here off that line, comes down. You could catch any of those rejections or use them as profit targets if you wanted to, because I mean, like I said, it was a huge bounce up here, back all the way down, and then another huge bounce up. So you know this is a pretty good area to be catching like full plays. So then you see the pump up, but then pre-market comes down. It came back into this zone. I think that was still all pre-market. Yeah. But then by the time it opened, it came all the way back up here, and this was a strong close below that box. Came all the way back up, so if you wanted to, if you'd never seen the body closes above this box, you could have got a short here, and then collected gains as you go. And then, like I said, a new zones start to form over time that you see. So now that we have these stronger wicks around this area, you can probably draw you one out right here. Go across with it. And you see the body closes are the most important thing. The wicks, they'll tell you like, hey, it's strong bounces, but seeing the body closes is your confirmation to either get out of a trade or to stay in it. Like the body closes are key. Anything that a candle's doing while it's active doesn't mean anything until the candle closes. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand that. Like seeing a candle that's actually running doesn't mean anything until it closes. That's my biggest thing. Like I don't treat a running candle as an existing candle. I only look at the ones that have closed to tell me the rest of the story because that's what those candles do is they'll confuse you when they're moving and then all of a sudden they'll reverse and you're like, well, what happened? Like you'll break down and all of a sudden it wicks back up. That's why existing candles are the only ones I look at. Running candles, I just don't look at them unless I feel like it. Like there's no reason to base your trade off a running candle until it closes. Um, I want to say that's all I really wanted to go over. But like I said, it's all based on probabilities. If it's a high probability of a bounce when you see huge strength, then that's how I play it. There's not much I really look at. Like I don't use any indicators for it. Like you can use indicators as confluence, but I do not use indicator for entry. This has honestly fixed my entry problems a lot. It's just being able to find these zones and just take the entries off of them because a lot of the entries are really good from what I've got. And if I miss, I miss. I mean, not every play is gonna be perfect, but some of them, the ones that I do hit most of the time, they hit and they're pretty much on point. Like they've worked out like I needed them to. But yeah, so this. Like I said, I'll go into more detail with some of the other stuff when we Boyce decides to do the class. But until then, this is a pretty good starting point for you guys to just mess with it, try it out, see if you like it or not, and if you do, it works. If not, then oh well, you got whatever works for you. So hope y'all enjoyed this, and let me know if y'all got any questions and stuff in the chats, and I'll be more than happy to help y'all out.